Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rimworld. When we last left off, we had just finished setting up our new colony on this unknown planet, and I had paused right at the start, so we haven't progressed, but maybe an hour in game, the time it took me to pause it, basically. So we're going to dive right in. Right from the start, you have your three colonists. One thing you want to check is gear. Make sure that everyone has clothing, because if they don't, uh, you can run into issues. Chambers does not have pants. Not a good thing. Because he doesn't have the nudist trait. If we look at needs, you can see he has a negative, um, a negative mood enhancement, I guess you would call it, um, because he doesn't like being not having pants on. So there's that, and for no apparent reason, he just feels bad right now. You can see this is the mood bar. His current mood's at 50%. Represents how happy or stressed someone is. If it gets too low, they may suffer a mental break. And you can see the different characters have different thresholds, which are these hash marks on the meter. Uh, you can see that her hard mental break threshold for Faye is actually 1%, which is amazing. And soft mental break threshold is 16%. So she is fantastic with her with the mood, which I'm not quite sure why hers is so high. Steadfast. Yeah. She's mentally tough and won't break under stresses that would crack most people. So she has really good mental break thresholds. The rest of them just about moderate, 20% and 5% for soft and hard. He's a tiny bit higher, but not too bad. First thing you want to do is you can see we have all these supplies around. I guess the first thing was checking whether everyone has clothing or not. Chambers doesn't have pants, and that's a negative for his mood. As you can see, everyone starts with new colony optimism, which expires in 10 days in game time. So you have a little bit of time to try and get certain things like clothing and stuff so that they're not feeling too depressed. You have a good 10 days to get stuff sorted out, so we'll try and get them some pants by then. You can see we have all these resources nearby. Silver, which is the currency used for trading in the game. Not very important at the very start, but you can see they have the little X ticks on them. Everything does. That is that means they're forbidden. That the colonists won't go and collect the resources and put them into a stockpile. If we come down to this bottom bar, you can see all these tabs. We'll get to all of them eventually. What we want to see now is the architect menu, which brings up the different things that you can build and designate. Power, you have solar generators, power conduits, batteries. Joy, you have horseshoe pins, you have chess table, billiards table, stuff for colonists to do that increases their mood. Production, you have your uh, crafting benches, and all this other stuff, walls. And if you right click on something, you can change what the material is that you build something out of. So you can see steel wall, wood wall, silver wall, and they all cost a different amount of resources. There's so much information in this game. If you come into info, uh, you can see a steel wall has max hit points of 350. If we make it wood and hit info, you can see the max hit points is only 175. Flammability for steel was also at 20%, but for wooden wall it's at 100% flammability. So you can see you have to pay close attention to what you make your buildings out of. Wood is plentiful and cheap, uh, usually depending on the map, but right here you can see there's trees everywhere that we can chop down for wood. So if you need something quick to go up, like a house or a room for colonists to sleep, you can just build wood walls right at the start. The safest thing to do is actually to build in to mountains, which is why I wanted to start on mountainous terrain. Um, because it's the absolute safest, because the walls basically are the rough marble and the different materials that were present on the map when you first started it, and they're not flammable. If I, yeah, 0% flammability, so they can't be set on fire. So it makes it very strong place to build your base. It also allows you to control entry points into your base, which is good for defense, and just all around a lot easier to build into the mountain, build a cave system. But that's not what we're going to do right away, because in order to do that, you have to do a lot of mining, which can take up a lot of time right at the start when you only have a few members. So right from the start, we're going to go and we're going to use the hotkey F. You'll see me using the hotkeys. Well, you won't see me using the hotkeys since you can't see my keyboard, but I'll be using the hotkeys a lot just because it's a lot easier most of the time if I remember what the certain hotkeys are. We're just going to unforbid a lot of this stuff, the survival meals, the metal for building, the wood for building. And the next thing, there's a lot actually that you have to do before you actually can start playing the game on pause. Um, I mean, you can leave it going, but you run into the risk of pirates attacking really fast before you get anything set up, so it's nice to keep it paused for a while just so you don't get any surprises. Now you can see we have a few weapons laying around. We have a survival rifle, a pistol, and I believe underneath Terrifying, our Yorkshire Terrier, we have a plasteel knife. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the character screen for each character, and she has level 6 shooting and a burning passion for shooting. He's only 2 for shooting and 1 for melee. He's 4 and has a little bit of passion for melee. So Faye is obviously our top shooter. We're going to right click on this survival rifle and click equip. Now when we unpause, her first order is going to be to equip survival rifle. Click on May. He will see. Chambers had our little bit of passion for melee, so we're actually going to have him equip the plasteel knife. And just so everyone has something, we'll have May with the pistol. Now, they all have their initial orders, but what are they going to do after that? Well, if we come down to work, we can see this big list with check marks and blank boxes, and it can all be very confusing at times, but especially first time you start playing, but once you get the hang of it, it's relatively easy. Basically, if something has a check mark on it, in this mode, you can see you have manual priorities that you can switch on and off. We'll get to that in a minute. But with menu priorities off, you can see everything to the left side has higher priority to things on the right side. So everyone has a check mark for firefight. So if there's a fire nearby in a designated zone, in a safe zone that you designate as the home zone for your colonists, the first thing they'll do, they'll drop whatever they're doing and go fight that fire. Next up is doctor, which means if someone's hurt and they're in a medical bed awaiting treatment, if someone has this ticked, they'll drop anything on the right side. They'll drop anything they're doing that's on the right side here, and they'll go and give medical treatment to that person. Right now we only have May as a doctor. If you hover over it, you can see exactly what each one does, so I'm not going to read all of them. I just realized that you can hover over and see what they do, but I will review over them. But you can see she has 10 skill in doctoring, so she's the one we want to have treating wounds because she'll do a good job at it and have less chance of messing up and injuring the person further. You can see Chambers has a skill of 1 in doctoring, which is horrible, but at least he has a little bit in case May gets hurt. We can override this list and have him go treat her if we need to. But we'll try not to let that happen. And unfortunately, if both of them are hurt, Chambers has absolutely no skill. He is incapable of doctoring at all, which goes back to his traits and backstory. Unsure why he's not able to doctor. Huh. He should be able to doctor. Oh no, it's Faye that can't doctor. I'm getting Faye and May confused. Those names are way too similar. Yeah, she's incapable of caring and social, so she can't do medicine or social. All right, that makes much more sense now. All right, so they have their orders. They're gonna go get their weapons. Then after that, if I don't overwrite their orders, give them something to do, like equip an item or attack something or go build something, they'll follow this priority list, this work list right here. You will want to adjust this depending on people's strengths and weaknesses, also based on the current priorities you have for your colony. Right at the start, um, I've played enough that I like doing manual priorities just to better control how everything is handled. But the way I do it is I don't know if there's a faster way of doing this, but I just untick everything at the start so that I can set everything the way I like it. So you'll have to bear with me a moment while I do this. All right, now we have manual priorities. So the number one thing I like to have everyone doing, you can see it's a list of 1 through 4, and then if it's blank, that means they won't do that job at all. Flick is a very important thing. When you have power set up, you can set up switches in between the power source and, say, a turret or a crafting bench that requires power. You can't, as the controller with your mouse, you can't click on a switch and have it automatically switch. You have to designate a switch to be flicked, and then a colonist that has that job of flick will go and turn the switch on or off for you, depending on what state it's in. So when you have limited power at the start, say you usually only have a battery and a solar generator at the start, which are the first things you can make. You usually want to have your turrets turned off unless you're being attacked, just to conserve energy. So if you come under attack, it's very important to have someone immediately go and flick a switch. So I usually like to have flick set as the highest priority, at least at the start of the game. Later on, when power is more plentiful, it doesn't really matter. Firefight is also very important, so I'll put that at a 2 for everyone. Uh, Even if there's a fire going on, if we come under attack, having turrets turned on to repel the attackers is more important than fighting a fire, which does spread across grass and trees and can damage your base, but it usually doesn't go fast enough that it becomes too much of a problem. Doctoring, put that the same priority as firefight, but even under manual priorities, if something is the same number, it will follow this inherent higher priority, lower priority setting. So anything to the left will be done before anything to the right. So doctoring is important, but if there's a fire happening nearby, they will do that instead of doctoring someone. We won't put Chambers on as doctor since he's really bad at it. Patient, patient's important. If someone's hurt, if they don't have this ticked, they won't go and receive treatment for whatever it is. If they have a bad flu, or if they have an arm shot off, if they don't have patient here, they won't go to a medical bed to receive treatment before they die, which is really bad. Warden, you can enslave people, get prisoners. If I recall correctly, they actually give you a runaway person pretty soon at the start of the game, so it's not too important to have this, I don't think. Either way, I don't have anyone good at a social skill, so I'm not going to tick anyone for right now. But if the time comes that I need a prisoner, I can come back and change that. Handle is actually very new since they added animal taming in the latest alpha patch. I think alpha 12 is what we're on right now. Basically, this is your animal trainer. Um, Fortunately, we don't have anyone good at it. We'll take May at 4 for it, so it's lowest priority for her. Him. May is a him. Lowest priority for him right now. Cooking. Faye has a higher skill, but May has a little bit of passion for it, so he'll learn more quickly. Put that at a 2 as well, then, since we'll keep him as our only chef. Hunting. Faye has will have our hunting rifle. So she'll be the one hunting to go get food for us. A lot of these I'm probably going to adjust a little bit more once I have everything set. Construction. Skill really isn't too relevant for um, a lot of this, actually, from now on, at least from construction on through. All the skill points do, I believe, is increase speed at which it's done. So speed of building, repairing objects, growing plants, mining, cutting plants. It does matter for the crafting skills, craft, art, tailor, and smithing, because it affects the quality of the items you make in the crafting system. So, but we're not going to have anyone doing that right at the start, because that's more mid to end game stuff when you're trying to get money to buy parts and stuff. So we won't worry about that right now. Construct, actually want everyone to be constructing, everyone to be repairing. May is our best healer, or not healer, sorry, grower. Put that at 3. She's good at it. And Faye will put at 3 too, because she has a interest in growing. Him will put at 4. Since they'll be growing, I guess we'll put him at a little bit higher priority for mining chambers. Uh, them at 4. Everyone can do plant cutting. No one's doing smithing, tailoring, art, crafting. Everyone can haul. Everyone can clean. No one's doing research yet. So the first thing the game will do will be to look for whatever has number 1 on it, and then from that point, if there's more than one thing with number 1, it resorts to the higher priority, lower priority. So we'll go to patient first, see no one needs to be a patient, so we'll move on to the next one. Flick, it'll see I don't have anything designated for flicking. Then it'll check, nothing else has 1. It'll go to 2, it sees firefighting, there's no fires, there's no other number 2s, so then we'll go on to number 3. You'll see Faye has a 3 for hunt, so if there are any hunt jobs open, she will go hunting. Then the next one is May has a 3 in growing, so if there's jobs queued for him to plant something or to harvest something in a growing zone, he'll do that. And then for Faye, and so on and so forth, it'll check to see if she's done hunting. If she is, it'll move on to growing, and so on and so forth. So this looks alright to me right now. There's not much priority for things other than getting objects where they need to be, starting on your growing, and getting initial shelter set up. Um, just right click to cancel out all of that, and we will unpause. It's either going to equip the weapons, and first thing that pops up is a notification we need colonist beds. What we're going to do for that, actually, is we'll send Faye. that want to send her. Hit R, it will draft them. This is basically you take direct control. The draft button, you take direct control of colonists. It's usually what you do when you're under attack by pirates, so you can control where they go for cover, where they attack from, so you can keep them safe. But for this instance, I need her to just go over there. You have time controls down here. You can pause by clicking, or you can hit spacebar to pause if you want. Then you have the normal play speed, double play speed, triple play speed. I usually have it on the fastest unless something's happening. If your colony comes under attack, it will automatically drop it down to the slowest play speed for you, so nothing happens without you knowing it. You can see we have a little building here. You will come across ruins on different maps. Sometimes there'll be something dangerous in them, which you have to be careful about, which is why I wanted to bring May over here. When they'll get close to a building, a ruin that is dangerous, a little pop-up will come up that says something like Faye senses something ancient and ominous about this building. But that didn't pop up, so that's good. That means we can claim this, which I'm going to do. Come to architect, orders, claim. We just claimed all of these wall pieces, which are slate walls. We go to info, you can see they have 0 flammability, which is good, and 455 max hit points, which is really good. Doesn't really matter this early on, but especially because it's such a small room, but we need this room for, we're going to turn it into our bedroom for our colonists. So come to orders. It's already up, silly me. Man, it's been a while. Slaughter. We'll deconstruct that one right there. Ah, something I forgot to do. Zone area, stockpile zone. This is basically tells your colonists where to put things. Create a stockpile where your colonists will store resources. This tool can also expand any existing stockpile. So you click it, and then you click and drag. Click and drag, different sizes. You can see it automatically adjusts around walls and things that there can't be one, but don't really need too big of one right now, so I think I'm just going to go with a 6x6. And if we click on this and click on storage, you can see all this info for it. You can really fine tune all of your stockpile zones. You can say this one, I only want objects that have more than half of their hit points remaining to go into here. Otherwise, I'll have them go to a different stockpile. I could do that if I wanted. Um, I could say I only want a certain quality of items. I only want good items and better to go to the stockpile if I wanted to. I'm not going to, simply because it's a start, and anything we have is probably going to be crap quality anyway. So everything is just going to go in here, except for chunks, where we come down. Stone chunks, which are these pieces that you see laying around, like these are sandstone chunks. Uh, Here, granite chunks, more sandstone, marble chunks. Those come into play later in the game. You will start using them at some point, but at the start you don't really need them at all. Corpses, you can see, isn't a full check mark. It just has this weird half moon type tick next to it. You can see animal corpses do not go here. Odd, I thought they did. Human-like corpses. I feel like that's backwards. It used to be the other way. Human corpses should not go here. Animal corpses, for right now, I want to go here. So when I mark an animal to be hunted, they will our hunter will go, which is Faye, I believe, will go kill the animal, and when it's dead, haul its body back to uh, any stockpile that we've marked for animal corpses. You also see you have a priority listing here. Everything starts out as normal priority. Later on, you'll want to change that. Um, you'll want to build a refrigerator for your animal corpses and have it set to a higher priority. So when you go hunting, they'll take the dead animal, to your refrigerator so that the meat won't spoil before you can butcher it and turn it into food for your colonists. Uh, Trying to think what else I need to do. We do need a couple more zones. A dumping stockpile is basically your garbage. Basically anything that gets in the way. You can see rotten corpses will get thrown in there. Non-smeltable weapons will get thrown in there too, apparently. I didn't know that. Uh, all your resource chunks will go in there as well, and we don't want animal corpses. But human corpses will go to our dumping stockpile too. Uh, the problem with human corpses is it will upset your colonists. It will make their mood decrease. So you eventually have to you'll have to build graves or steel sarcophagus, which is actually a new item now, an ornamental burial receptacle for the eye. So you can build graves and such to hide the bodies basically from your colonists so they won't get upset. And I think if you build the sarcophagus, they'll actually visit your graveyard areas and it'll actually give them a slight mood boost, I think. Ooh, I forgot to unforbid medicine. That's good. Regular medicine like this doesn't spoil, but what we're going to build next are a couple growing zones for harvesting plants. There's good for one. Move four. You can see this one gets cut off. Certain terrain you can't build uh, zones on, like certain zones on, like growing zones, you can't build on these stone floors here around mountains. There's also swamplands somewhere. This is gravel right here. This zone right here. So I don't know if you can do a growing zone on there, but you can here. Marshy soil. I forget what it is. There's a certain soil type which actually gives a boost to growing zones, but I forget what it's called. I don't know if it's marshy soil or something else, but those are growing zones. If we click on them, go into growing, we can select what will be grown in them. Uh, there's certain benefits and to different things. Rice plants grow incredibly fast, so you can get a lot of it, but it has to be prepared. It has to be cooked into a meal in order for your colonists to eat it. If they eat it raw, I think they actually lose uh, their mood decreases if they eat certain foods raw. It'll uh, give them food so they won't starve to death, but they won't be happy about it. So we're gonna have one zone for rice just to get a lot of food quickly. We'll actually make this one the rice. So it's smaller. Then there's other plants, strawberry plants, which take a little bit longer, but they can be eaten plain, so you don't have to cook. I definitely, actually no, I'm gonna make two strawberries simply because we don't have a very good cook right now. So I'm gonna want a lot of food that doesn't require it to be badly prepared by our horrible chef. Did forget to mention about terrifying. There is a zone. That wasn't it. But you can see this is our home area, our home zone. This is what I was referring to with the firefighting skill. if a fire springs up or spreads into this blue area, it alerts the colonists that there's a fire there, and they'll go put it out. Can be a little bit troubling if, say, a fire starts right outside the zone and it spreads into the zone. They'll kill out the fire that comes into the zone, but not outside of it. So if the fire's still going on out here, it can still spread back into our home zone. So that can be a little problem you have to watch out for. Animals tab. I'm still not 100% sure on the whole animal system, but this, I believe, means that our little puppy here will not wander outside of our blue home area. Don't know how to set restrictions. Yes, manage areas. Um, I'm not too sure on how the area thing works. Thought you were able to change it. There we go. Alright, so it's under the architect zone area. Then when you click expand, allowed area. So we're going to do the first animal area as inside, since this particular animal isn't very good at any tasks. A Yorkshire, can you see a Yorkshire Terrier going out hunting a boomalope? That is, I don't see that happening. So we're going to restrict him to indoors. We'll give him a bed at some point, but we don't have one now. I guess I can continue things along. I have growing zones now, so and stockpile zones, so they'll start moving items to the stockpiles. They'll start growing. Whoever we have set as the grower, and Chambers, I think, is already knocking down this wall, which is exactly what I wanted to have. Oh, he's throwing off. Yeah, everyone. Well, not everyone. Sometimes they'll start out with Cryptosleep Sickness, which just means they're a little bit sick and will throw up every now and then. A little bit negative to their mood, but it's not very detrimental. It'll just keep them from working very efficiently right from the start. See, they're already growing. No, I didn't want potatoes. Change that. You can see there's a lot you can plant. A lot of this list, though, as you can see, are trees, which take a very long time to grow, but it does essentially give you an unlimited source of wood for building. You have flowers you can plant, which when people walk by, they'll receive a boost to their mood. Hop plant, surprisingly enough, is used for brewing beer, which we won't get into yet. That's a more mid to late game thing. Zerigium, that's what I wanted. Very important. It's used for herbs. It's basically an herb for medicine. It's a lower tier of this medicine, but it's you can grow it yourself. It doesn't cost anything, just time and the growing zone. So it's if you have a good enough doctor, Zerigium is good enough. Third growing zone. You could do cotton or devil strand. They're both used for crafting clothing, such as jackets and pants, which were in Chambers, but we don't have a good craftsman yet, or even a craft table to build clothing, so I don't think we're going to worry about that. Hay grass is used for feeding some animals, but I don't think our dog will eat it, so I guess I'll just do cotton plant. The Chambers just ate a meal. Go architect, structure, we're gonna need a door. Guess we'll do steel since we already have a building built. Have someone build there. Pause it really quick because it's getting nighttime. People are gonna want to sleep soon, so we want to come down to furniture. We don't have enough time the first night, unfortunately, to build actual beds, so we have to build sleeping spots, which doesn't actually require construction. It just requires you to place it, and it'll tell the colonists, hey, you can come lay down and sleep here. If you use the Q and E keys, you can rotate any item in place. Doors adjust automatically to wherever you place them. Lay those down there and give a sleeping spot for terrifying. Everyone's going to be pretty uncomfortable their first night, but at least they have a roof over their heads and someplace to lay down, which is pretty good for a first night. Alright, got a lot of explaining done, more than I was hoping I had to actually. I just kind of go with the flow. I don't really have any of this planned out, but pretty much going to call that for this episode and most of the bulk explaining. Gonna try and just play the game starting from the next episode and explain as we go along, like we didn't even get to steam geysers. But when I get to points like that, I'll explain what those are for when it comes along. But yeah, good episode, I feel. Got a lot done for the first night at least. Got our growing zones placed, our stockpiles designated, and we were able to claim this tiny little structure as our home. And unfortunately, someone puked all over Chambers. He doesn't have the cryo sickness anymore, so hopefully she is done puking all over our nice home. There is dirt on the floor all over the place, so you can prioritize cleaning, which I think I did. That's the very lowest priority. If they have absolutely nothing else to do, they'll clean, but they'll get around to it eventually. Yeah, and also if you scroll in all the way, you can see how many items are in a stack of something. More important things to do besides getting everything together. We're gonna need a little addition to this room to give them a table and chairs so they have some place to eat. You can see there's a lot of negatives working against them right now. 8 off the ground is one. They don't like eating off the ground, so you gotta give them a table. She's in a little pain, which I think is just, yeah, she has a scar, which causes a little bit of pain, so that's always going to be there. Ugly environment. Again, Chambers puked all over our nice home. Shared bedroom. They don't like sharing a bedroom with other people, so pretty soon before the 10 days of New Colony Optimism wears off, you want to make sure that everyone has their own bedroom. They don't like sleeping on the ground, so you got to make sure everyone has a bed. Very crowded, very small room, but this is just for them to sleep in. Once they get outside, they'll lose a lot of like crowded room, and most of those other ones will go away once they're done sleeping and start working outside again. But anyway, as I said, what was it, 5 minutes ago now? Gonna call it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed, and see you next time. Take care.